Well, friends, this time it's for real, for real. Robert is going in a completely opposite direction than me, and that's sometimes what happens when you make friends on the road and either work or travel goals or whatever take you in opposite directions. So, you know, we gave each other a awkward hug, and he's about to leave to go more east, and I'm heading more north, and that's just the way it is. So we hope in a few weeks we might cross paths again. We're gonna certainly keep in touch. He's definitely become like my closest friend, and so I am sad. I'm sure the reality will hit me when I have to have dinner by myself tonight, because usually Wednesday night we have dinner together. There's his engine, I just heard it. So I planned on heading more north in the next day or two anyway. I saw my horses, so I'm ready to go. And he finished what he needed to do in the area, and it just so happens we have to go in opposite directions. So I don't know how I feel right now. I don't know how I feel right now, but let's watch him drive away. I will do my best to overlay this with some somber music. Bye, Robert. Bye, kitty. I feel a sadness. I don't know if I feel a loneliness, but maybe. Alright, well, I'll process my feelings and then get back to you on that. What do we got? We got peppers and onions and cheese and ranch and avocado. And loneliness. Just kidding. So if you're new here, Robert and I met last summer camp hosting on Mount Hood, and when the Riverside fire came and pushed us out of work, we ended up starting to travel together, and we have been traveling together for the last 7.5 months. So it is weird to have him gone. Even though I still spent a lot of time by myself, I'm like really by myself for the first time. I mean, since I was camp hosting about this time last year, this is the first time that I've been like by myself for about a year, which is crazy to think about. All right, now it's my turn to mosey on. Riot's settled in. And I'm joyful to go north where it's cooler and there's some trees, and I'm going somewhere I've never been before, which is really exciting. But I love the desert. I know the desert is not for everyone. Some people are just not desert people, but I love it. Just not in the summer. So I am excited to go north, and I am very excited to go where I've never been before. But as someone that has had severe anxiety and panic issues in the past, the body gets very confused between the sensation of excitement and the sensation of anxiety, because they feel very similar in the body. You know, your hands get sweaty, your heart rate is increased, your thoughts are more rapid. You know, your muscles kind of tense, you're a little bit in that fight or flight. You know, excitement feels a lot like anxiety. So if any of you have struggled with anxiety in the past, I find it helpful to, you know, talk to myself. I mean, we always talk to ourselves, so even though that sounds crazy, I talk to myself. You're gonna be talking to yourself whether you realize it or not. So it's a really good time to practice conscious self-talk. so that you let your body know and your thoughts know that we're excited for what we're about to do. The sensations might mimic the same sensations we have historically known as anxiety, but really what we are is excited. We're anticipating good things, not anticipating stress. So I'm sure there's other people out there that have experienced anxiety, panic attacks, you know, a history of high tension, being high strung. I think we all know I'm a little tightly wound sometimes. So, you know, you take yourself with you on the road, but now is the time to remodel the framing of your thoughts so that physiologically your body understands and your mind starts understanding whether or not this is a situation that we're happy excited for or we're nervous excited for. And I think it's okay to be a little bit of both. I mean, I'm going somewhere I've never been before. I'm traveling alone for the first time in 7 months. You know, it's strange. Some of you might be wondering if I feel lonely now that I'm alone. And I can say that like yesterday after Robert left in the morning, I very much was aware that I was alone, but I wasn't lonely. I mean, I have Riot, I have God, I have my ability to amuse myself at any given juncture. So I don't feel lonely, but I very much am aware that I am alone, which is a little intimidating after having the comfort of another human being just there as like a security blanket. But you know, we can't all be Linus. We can't all stay cartoon children forever. So sometimes we have to put the blanket down and, I don't know, find new coping skills, I guess. So one of my coping skills is talking to myself. Another coping skill is listening to audiobooks that kind of distracts my brain. And then, you know, sometimes just focusing on my breath, on my breathing, trying to stay present and not letting my imagination run wild. Robert has a nickname for me. It's worst case scenario Lex, because I have an uncanny ability to deep dive imagination-wise into worst case scenarios. But you know, Tim Ferriss has a TED Talk. I think it's a TED Talk, or I think it's Tim Ferriss. Anyway, it's about you know, coming up with what is the worst case scenario, like what is your fear, and then preparing yourself as much as possible for it, controlling the controllables and, you know, releasing the rest of it. It's kind of like the Serenity Prayer. I do recite the Serenity Prayer quite a lot, especially if I'm feeling anxious. What else do I do to cope? I pet my dog. That's helpful. And I just try and focus on getting to like the next gas station or the next waypoint or the next camp spot. And I just try and stay hyper focused on those controllables, and anything along the way is just what comes along the way. And you know, having faith that we live in a very impermanent world and universe, so good and bad, nothing is forever. So if something unenjoyable comes along my way, then, you know, I have faith, well, it's a passing moment. And because the good stuff is also impermanent, then it's in my best interest to linger in those good moments as long as possible, knowing that they are not lasting either. So those are kind of my coping skills to help me as I am transitioning my way of thinking from one of anxious excitement to joyous excitement. And I hope that makes sense and is helpful to anyone that might also have a history of anxiety and panic as well. No prescription required. Snow on the mountain. A few of you have been asking for cooking, and I cook so simple, and I guess easy. Maybe you'll be interested. So what we're doing right now is just sauteing up some spinach. I'm gonna add a bunch of sea salt. Now that I'm not traveling with Robert, I can add as much black pepper as I want. And I'm gonna add just a little bit of garlic powder. I'm gonna also add some of this rice. I like this rice because you don't need to boil it in water. It's pre-cooked, so it saves you water. It's a little more expensive, but it saves time, and then it doesn't require water. So that's nice. I'm gonna also add some whole milk yogurt. Which will add a little fat and creaminess. You know, I was talking about anxiety driving, and it reminded me of something my husband used to do that drove me nuts, but helped me so much with my anxiety. And it's a game he used to, well, I guess you could call it a game, but anytime that I was anxious, he would ask me to explain, you know, what I'm anxious about. And then he would say, and then, and it drove me nuts, but he would make me, you know, I'm scared I'm gonna get into a car accident. And then, you know, maybe the truck and trailer are totaled. And then I'm gonna have to get a hotel and wait for insurance to kick in. And then, Star-Kissed tuna. And then I'm gonna have to get a whole new rig, and I really like this rig. And then I'm gonna maybe lose money. And then I'm gonna have to keep working, or what if I don't have enough money? What if the insurance doesn't cover it? You know, what if I'm just SOL? What if damages are bigger than what insurance would cover? And then he would say, and then I'm not gonna have any money, and I'm gonna be homeless, and I'm gonna live on the streets with a paper bag, and they might take Riot away, and you know, no one will respect me, and I won't be able to find work again. And he would say, of course, and then I'll probably die. And it's like, you know, the end result is always death. And I thought of this because I've been reading David R. Hawkins, if any of you are familiar with his work. And he has a similar game, and it just was really intriguing that my husband, who for all intents and purposes was not a spiritual man on the outside, I guess, but he had the same game to calm my anxiety that Dr. David Hawkins recommends to his patients. So props to my husband. So as you can see, hopefully the and then game And Dr. Hawkins is, and then what? But at any rate, hopefully that little game helps you with your anxiety, because once you accept death, which was Jody's whole thing, and what is Dr. David Hawkins' thing, once you accept death as an inevitability and you're not scared of it, then none of the and-thens really matter, because that's really what you're worried about. Anyway, we had a little tuna and a little cheese, and kind of like a little oven bake. Let it crisp up a little bit, and that'll be our dinner. Ours isn't mine. I always say our and we and stuff like that, and me, Jesus, and Riot, I guess.
What will happen is insecurity will be replaced with security. Unworthiness will be replaced with a feeling of worthiness. Fear will be replaced with a feeling of well-being.